one of the challenges we've got at home now is the renewable energy plans that the current government's putting in place, and it is renewables only energy plans. Gas is only barely tolerated. Coal they want to force out of the system. They won't have a bar of nuclear power in Australia, despite the fact we've got all this uranium that we're shipping for others to use. And with renewables obviously comes the challenges of decommissioning, short lifespan, and they rely heavily on subsidies, and they're intermittent, and they're not the baseload capacity that a modern industrial economy demands. People are starting to wake up, but governments are not yet there.
No. I mean, look, everybody's been fooled by this argument that prices of solar and wind over time have come down dramatically, which is true. But then they tell you solar and wind is the cheapest energy.
Well, we hear that. Unpack that for us, because we hear that a lot.
You hear that it's the cheapest energy ever, but only when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing. When it's not, it's the most expensive ever because it's infinitely costly. And so if you actually look at, plot out we have lots of countries in the world, plot out how much solar and wind do they get in percent of their total electricity, and what's the cost. You would imagine from what you hear that the price would be going down. The more solar and wind you get, the cheaper it becomes. Not at all. So we got to face the facts. It's not cheaper. Why? Because when you have to pay, both the green enthusiasts could come and show us, oh, here's one country that actually runs just on solar and wind. They're doing great, but they can't. This is why we really need to realize our current path is just not sustainable.
Talk to me about China, because China's not deindustrializing like we are in the West, like we are in Australia in particular. If we go down the path of renewables only power, we are sending our heavy industry offshore. China's not doing this. China's increasing its emissions.
So China uses a lot of coal. Now, China is being portrayed, and I get why they want to do it, and it's a smart move, as this green new giant. Everybody thinks, oh, it's all green. No, it's a tiny bit more green. And they do that because they produce all the solar panels and the wind turbines in the world. And
they ship to us to use.
They sell it to you, they sell it to us, and of course they also sell some of it to themselves. But fundamentally, China shows you that the world is run mostly in fossil fuels. And remember, every country around the world is mostly fossil fuel based.
We've been talking at the conference that have we reached peak woke? Are we coming down from peak woke? Have we reached peak climate? Now that these policies cooked up at the UN and elsewhere in Davos are hitting people with ordinary incomes at home and in terms of the car they drive and the jobs they have, are we coming off peak climate?
I hope so. There is that feeling, but I've had that feeling many times before, so I'm a little skeptical of just giving you, yeah, sure, we're on the right track. But I think the fundamental problem with climate change has always been when you could promise, like 10 years ago, we're going to do great things, but someone else is going to pay far down the line. That was easy.
Yeah.
Now everybody has to pay, and eventually people are going to say stop. So either smart politicians stop this now and do smart policy, which is investing in green energy research and development to get future green energy to be cheaper, or they're going to be boosted out by another Trump. I kind of hope that we're smarter than that and that we can actually get our house in order before we're going to rip up the whole thing. But it's very unlikely that we'll keep going the way we are.